Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hanson, joined by Elise Favis.
Hey.
Welcome to the big show and welcome to LA, Elise.
Thanks. I mean, I've been here before.
It's your second time. First time was last year and we had you on the show. Last night we had Serial for his first time at E3 to really break him in.
Oh man, how's he finding it?
He was fine. He talked about donuts a lot, so I think he's having a good time. He understands what LA is all about. We have Kyle Hilliard.
Hey, Serial's from Anaheim, I guess, or lived in Anaheim at some point. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was.
He should have mentioned that at some point.
BioWare game?
Yes, that's right.
And we have Ben Reeves.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the big show.
How are you?
Doing real good. So this is day 2 of LA and E3, technically for us. It feels like we've been here for a lifetime, but we have a lot to cover. To get out of the gate, we should probably cover the Nintendo press conference because we very rudely recorded this before we had seen it last time. But now we have seen it. We have all played a couple things in there. Yeah. Kyle Hilliard, what stood out to you the most during that Nintendo press conference?
During the press conference?
The whole Nintendo event.
The Metroid stuff. Metroid Prime 4 was a huge surprise. And then the 2D Metroid, I feel like, was an even bigger surprise. Like, Metroid Prime 4 almost set it up for us to expect a 2D Metroid even less. And then they showed it, and they're like, "Here's a ton of gameplay. It's coming out in September."
It felt like exactly what we talked about last night with Shadow of the Colossus, where Sony was kind of just like, "Oh yeah, here's a trailer. We're not going to comment on it. There's no one really to set it up." That's what it felt like for Metroid. It's like Metroid Prime 4, and then also let's fart out a 2D Metroid on YouTube, see if anybody notices. Like, what? They should have opened the whole thing with that.
I think they wanted their show to be Switch, right? Like, this is all about Switch. But even still, I feel like at 9 a.m. when it started, it just should have been the Metroid Samus Returns trailer, and then cut to Reggie being like, "You just saw Metroid. Now we're going to tell you what's coming to Switch." Like, that should have opened the thing, I think.
So Metroid Prime 4, because we know so little about it, let's get that out of the way, right? So they have a 4 on screen. Yep. Reeves was very excited.
We saw that first. I was like, oh my gosh, 4? So Super Metroid must be the third one in the series, so this is going to be 4. I was very stupid. And then, obviously, Federation Force showed up immediately after that.
Literally everyone else saw the 4 and was like, oh, Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime 4.
It's like the Metroid theme making things very clear.
I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, I'm excited. I like the Prime series a lot. I'm excited for that. That's probably at the press conference itself. The biggest thing for me walking away, I was like very excited. Afterwards, we talked briefly to the Bill Trennan, and he said that it's a brand new development team.
That has me a little worried.
Which I'm a little nervous about, but it is still first person and all that.
So no other hints besides brand new team.
We can get into it a little bit later, but I also talked to Mercury Steam is doing the 2D Metroid and the producer of the game, and I asked him, is there anything that you can tell me about Prime? Like, does this game like lead into Prime or something in some way?
Good question. Yeah.
And he was like, no, there's no this, and he almost seemed like surprised that I was asking. He was like, these are 2 different games. I don't know
why you're asking me about this.
Why are you asking me about Metroid in this Metroid interview?
Oh, God, I'm killing myself now, but I know there was a tie-in at the end of Federation Forces. Like, seriously, there's like a Metroid really? Prime, like, Samus is about to get into this action.
You're a big fan. You played through that whole game.
I played like an hour and a half of it, and it didn't seem that bad to me.
Samus is in that game, and I think you fight her at the end.
That's what it is. So, okay. Yes, maybe that'll tie into 4 more than we think, but the new team, like, Metroid Prime has such a distinct flavor and personality. So much of it, I think, comes from that old retro team.
Right.
And so it's almost like a Gears of War 4 situation or something where I'm very curious how that newly assembled team can create that evocative kind of vibe and atmosphere.
Yeah. Gears of War is an interesting comparison because Metroid, in addition to being like unique to retro, it's also like very different from like most of Nintendo's other stuff. So even though Nintendo's overseeing it, I'm like, does Nintendo realize what they had, like what they had done? With
here's a good indicator. Series. Kyle, you played the 3DS game, which is technically a remake of Metroid 2.
Not even technically. It's a remake of Metroid 2.
Straight up.
Hang on, we got Matt Kato walking in front of a camera. We're all right. It's just a tease of what's to come. Have a seat, Kato. Make yourself comfortable.
Ooh la la.
So it is a full remake, but even it's confusing beyond that because it has like a lot of 3D elements.
Well, I mean, it's like 2.5D. Like you're not. There's no 3D gameplay as far as I saw. I played like the first 15 or 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And it was all 2D. You know, like you have a 2D map that you're not going in and out of planes or anything like that.
But in the trailer, it had like some crazy finishing moves where Samus would like grab the character and the camera would change perspective.
If the enemy zooms in on you, you have like kind of a quick time button press that you can do to like finish them off real quick.
Is that?
And I think actually the scene you're talking about is just the tutorial for how to do that.
Oh, interesting.
I could, unless they showed a bunch and I'm just not remembering. Did they have like a montage of like different
maybe
camera
it's
angles?
Tutorial
and stuff?
then, yeah.
Yeah, and which by the way, that counter move is very cool. Like you just basically it's like a melee attack, and if you time it right, and the window is pretty generous to time it, and you immediately start shooting, it's like an instant kill, and it feels really good. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, overall impressions from what you played. What do you think?
They had to like. They're like, all right, time to stop playing, and I just like I kept because the way that they just
bit their hands.
Like a rabid dog.
That's right. Well, they gave me like the beginning of the game, so I was just like making progress, and then they're like, all right, well you defeated that Metroid, so it's time to move on, and I was like, okay, and I just wanted to keep playing, and I kept playing until Kit had to take
this is Nintendo employee
Yeah,
Kid Ellis. So I mean, the easy comparison is like Mercury Steam making a 2.5D Metroidvania, some would say.
Yeah.
Maybe the first half. They made the 3DS Castlevania that I can't remember the
Mirror
name
of Fate.
And they did Lords of Shadow, both Lords of Shadow.
Yeah,
The
Mirror
first
of Fate
one
seems
was
like such an
successful.
easy analogy here, and
Right.
you played that, right, Kyle?
I did, yeah.
Are there comparisons there?
I mean, they're both 2.5D. They both, I mean, Mirror of Fate was not as Metroid-y or however you want to phrase it, like classic Igarashi Castlevania-esque as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It felt more like an action game with some backtracking and gating. But I mean, I'm curious to play Metroid more and see if there's more comparisons to be drawn. But it seems like a pretty good fit. Like Mercury Steam seems like a good
If anybody's
developer to do it.
nervous out there because like they didn't like the Lords of Shadow games or whatever,
Or just going through a tough time in their lives?
Yeah, just I don't know what's going on with your parents or your spouse. But if you're nervous at all about this game, like the formula is pretty much all there in the original game. Like they're updating the visuals, but like in terms of like the bones, like the structure, like that's pretty solid.
Yeah,
still.
fan
like,
made
that's
it,
there.
and these are professional developers.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious comparison is another Metroid 2 remake that
which
came out
Nintendo
last year.
shut the
Right.
F down.
And now it kind of makes sense. Like,
Right.
yeah, of course they would because they probably had this in development at the time. But I played that last year, and it's pretty good still. And like that's very faithful, more faithful, I think, than this is. So,
Seems that way, yeah.
But just it kind of proved that the structure of Metroid 2 still holds up.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, it's liberated from that ugly Game Boy.
Yeah,
I mean,
the chrysalis. It's like a Metroid. It's like being birthed.
I mean, the easy question is: this just everything that Metroid fans have wanted? Everybody's happy.
Well,
Yeah, after 20 minutes, sure. I don't know.
I mean, are they? But they are firing on all cylinders now. Just
Yeah.
shut up, Metroid crowd.
Let's
you have
see.
everything in theory you want.
There
I
are-
worry about like the action scenes.
Yeah,
little bit.
there are things like you have new mechanics, you know, like the blocking and stuff, or what the countering, and then they have this thing where you can kind of ping to scan, not like Metroid Prime scan, but you kind of scan the world, and that's how you build your map, and it's actually based on a meter that you can recharge like by killing enemies, is like how much you can use this ping.
Oh boy.
And it highlights things in the environment that can be broken.
Yeah.
So like maybe that wall that wasn't totally clear that you could shoot through it and get to a new area, like you can now ping it and it'll be highlighted.
Yeah.
And I like one thing is I worry, what does that make it too handholdy and too easy? Like I didn't feel like I was ever running out of that ping juice, or I think that's what they call it
is
in game.
handheld.
I know I shouldn't complain,
Oh, here
but
we
here
go.
it comes.
Here we go.
But it's just like when they showed off that new 2D Metroid, that's awesome, and then they're like, "Oh, it's a remake of 2," and I'm like, my heart sunk just a little. Like I was
Really?
a
So
little
many
less
people haven't played
enthusiastic.
Metroid 2, though.
But I have. I mean, it's all about me.
Naturally, go on.
But they are remaking like my least favorite Metroid, and it's like, well, all right, it'll be kind of nice to replay it with a new coat of paint.
Yeah.
After replaying it with a new coat of paint last year. So, but it is like, hopefully this will sell. Hopefully it'll be what Metroid fans want it to be, so that Nintendo's like, oh, we should keep making these and make a new one this time.
It is wild that Nintendo can go from just last year making Metroid Prime Federation Forces to so quickly. It seems like they needed like a couple years to like gestate and be like, okay, let's reformulate. Fans didn't like that, but like the next big opportunity for announcements for them to come out of the gate swinging with not only Metroid Prime 4 but this, like that's a solid lineup.
I asked them how long it had been in development, which is a question I've asked like Nintendo developers in the past, and they're always coy about it. Like they don't want to
Yeah.
they don't want to say how long
Right.
a game has been in development. And that was the same case here. They're just like, oh, we've been working on it. It's fun.
You have to imagine for a while though.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least a year, right?
At least since January
at least
when we
since
asked
Federation
Miyamoto
Force came out.
for a 2D Metroid.
I think we.
Why haven't we brought
Check
that
that
up? I mean, us three right here, we
Please.
made this happen.
Please don't say that. So you interviewed the producer, director.
Yes,
Did
and,
you learn anything interesting there?
Not a ton.
Okay.
I'm still going back through the interview, and hopefully I'll have a story up soon. But that game seems cool. I really like what I played a lot. I am very excited for it. It was probably now, last night we did our top 5 surprises.
Yeah.
In retrospect now, like even beyond Metroid Prime 4, I think that was a bigger surprise for me.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
I know I just complained about it, but I am very excited to play this game. And like the nice thing is, it's like in September. It's like right around the corner,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
which is really nice.
Well, hey, during the Nintendo Direct, Nintendo also showed off more of Mario plus Rabbids sitting in a tree, Mushroom Kingdom Battle system. Elise, you actually got to play it.
Yeah, I did. I played
What did you
some
think?
last
So
night.
last night on the podcast, we talked about like maybe worrying that it was a little too simplified and barren, I think was a word that came up. What do you
Okay.
think about actually playing the game?
I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I played a couple sessions. So it really is like a tactical kind of XCOM like Rabbids Mario game, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I found it kind of worked.
I like
it
the
had
weirdness,
it
honestly.
had its charm, and like there was definitely a learning curve with it too. I didn't find it too simplistic.
Oh, really?
So it didn't
Yeah.
seem like a game for babies? Like it didn't
No,
seem
it
like
didn't.
too
It didn't seem
simple, like easy?
I mean, it's not like overly
Joe said
complicated
that.
either. But I mean, I failed the first time trying to go after against the boss at the end. So
What I
there was a
realized
boss
today,
thing.
we talked about it a little bit on the last episode too, but the Roomba that's like leading the group around the overworld and stuff. Apparently, its
Beepo.
name is Beepo, not Peepo, but Beepo. And it's like
It looks like a vacuum cleaner.
I'm very confused because Luigi also has his vacuum cleaner, which is great, but it's just a very clever Nintendo or perhaps Ubisoft now touch of like it is the cursor going around the battlefield, right? And they just turn that into a
Yes.
character. It's like a Navi situation,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, there do seem to be like some exploration sequences. Like there was one part where I was in where there was like different walls going up and down, like kind of like a maze that I had to make my way through to find a chest.
Okay.
I don't know. There's little things like that, but it is mostly like you're going into a kind of little battleground area and doing. And
So optimistic.
I am. Yeah, I'm optimistic
right
about it.
on.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
you get to
before we
see-
dive into the rest of Ubisoft, shut up, Reeves. We should finish off this direct because then it got to probably my favorite trailer of all of E3 so far, the Mario Odyssey trailer. Which,
Yeah.
again, do you remember with the reveal trailer for Mario Odyssey? It opens and it looks like some garbage Sonic world, and
Remember
then
what
Mario.
the humans looked like?
Right, and then Mario pops out into it, and it's like, oh, now I have to pay attention. This might be really good. And this
Yeah.
time they did it again, and it's like, oh, is this Monster Hunter?
dinosaur?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a dinosaur running across the field. Like, this is a new Monster Hunter for Switch. They just announced one for PS4 last night. What the hell's going on? And then the T-Rex has a GD hat. And it turns out that Mario can control anything by throwing a hat at
Yeah,
it
that's
in
pretty
Mario
good.
Odyssey, and that's the
I
big
think that's
twist
pretty
here.
neat.
It has a great soundtrack. I'm into that song.
That song has been running through my head all day.
And it goes a little
I
something
must
like
be
this.
tired. Hey, get your hat on, come jump around in our city.
Really, tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
So I had a realization just a couple hours ago where I was sitting down thinking about, like, man, that T-Rex, that thing looks so cool. I'm so glad a T-Rex is in a Mario game. And then I realized it's like a goofy Mickey Mouse situation where it's like, and Pluto, where it's like, well, wait a minute. Mario's been like exploring dinosaur islands for so long with Yoshi.
Yeah.
Like, there's been not a hint of Yoshi in Mario Odyssey.
Wait, isn't Super Mario World, like, isn't it called Dinosaur Island?
Yes. Yes.
so
and now
funny.
there's
I
a
never-
real
Wait a
dinosaur.
Oh my
Or-
god, you just blew my
oh,
mind.
wait.
This
Wait.
game is just a series of minds being blown.
Yoshi has to show up on that island, right?
So there's gonna be like a cartoon Yoshi.
I
It's gonna
don't
look as
know.
weird as like Mario standing next to the humans. Is
I
Yoshi riding on the
guess.
back of a real dinosaur?
I think Goofy Pluto is the perfect analogy.
weird.
Like,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Wait,
Okay, what
can-
about this? Here's a
can-
hypothetical.
okay.
Shut up again, Reeves. What if you throw your hat as Mario, take control of the T-Rex wearing Mario's hat, then as the T-Rex you can ride on cartoon Yoshi?
That's exactly what I was about to say.
See, you don't even have to say
Yeah, I
anything.
don't need to be here. That's fine.
But I mean, the trailer was fantastic. Everyone should watch it. But we actually got to play Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Overall impressions, you guys. What stood out to you?
I mean, it looks great, and it plays great. Like Elise, did you play it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, Kyle and I did.
I will be on Thursday.
We're very, very proud of ourselves. But yeah, like it plays.
We know a guy.
It feels, obviously it's Nintendo, so it feels good, right?
Yeah.
But you can do the 3-jump spring, and we explored New Donk City, and we explored the Oasis
It's
desert
confusing.
area.
So they called it. I mean, fans have dissected the trailers and tried to understand it quite a bit. But in the demo, at least, the way it was structured is you went into either Sand Kingdom or Metro Kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's the classic Nintendo PR thing where someone's kind of walking us through the game, and it's like, wait a minute, it's called Metro Kingdom. Are there other cities in here besides New Donk City? Because New Donk City isn't that big.
No.
It really isn't.
And
It
they
was
were
dense, but it wasn't big.
Yeah, and they weren't like, oh, there's more than one city. It's like, I don't know. This is called Metro Kingdom. What are you going to do? So maybe there are cities inside. But we did errands for Pauline, another foreshadowing from January that apparently we were right on the money for, that Pauline is the mayor of New Donk City, which is an awesome
Yeah, it's
throwback
good
to Donkey
tip
Kong.
of the hat.
Let me see. I don't know if I have the quote exactly, but Reeves and I interviewed Koizumi and the director, and we asked, like, do you remember what was the exact question we asked? It was like, did Pauline like wrestle back control of the city from Donkey Kong Country and rename it New Donk City? Like, was it Donk City, and then Pauline took over and became the mayor, and they were just like, well, that's not the story that we imagined for it.
It was like, why didn't she name it Pauline City, too? Yeah. But yeah, it is cool to see she's in the game, because we haven't seen her in, I don't know, forever, right? Like, she hasn't showed up in Mario
It has
Kart or
not
anything,
been
right?
since Donkey Kong,
Something like that.
as far as I know.
But that gives even more like credence to the idea that we'll probably see Donkey Kong at some
Yeah,
point,
and
right?
we asked them
Hope
about
so.
that, and they kind of just said like, well, it's New Donk City. Pauline's there. Fun stuff could happen.
He's,
Kinda what
I
they
mean,
said.
he might be
Okay.
busy with the Rabbids over there. They're almost like crazy Rabbid
never
DK.
know.
Here's a couple quick things from my time with Mario Odyssey. You guys can react or
Yeah.
not react. First of all, throwing your hat at enemies and becoming them. You can throw your hat at anything. Well, anything might be a stretch.
Well,
but
I mean, you can't throw it at anything, but not everything will become.
So the way that they described it is anything not wearing a hat, you can throw your hat at and become. But it's more clear to be like any living thing. There's some inanimate objects that work, like ways to get up buildings and stuff.
There's some Goomba enemies too that I threw my hat at and just killed them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm very.
Unless they
I'm
were wearing
still.
super small hats that I didn't notice.
There wasn't a lot of taking control of enemies in the demos that we played, but that was the way it was described. So, like, if you see weirdo pedestrians walking around the town wearing hats, you can't take over them. But if there's someone standing on the side, I threw my hat at them, became them, and then I controlled a remote-controlled taxi to go get a little moon.
Oh, really?
Which is like
Oh,
the
that's
opposite of
cool.
I didn't see any
sunshine.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of weird stuff. So anyways,
that's crazy.
real quick, why Nintendo's genius, they call that process capture.
Oh,
It's a pun. It's
Damn
so
it.
good.
That's
It's so
really,
good.
really good.
Also,
So
you can
dumb.
do like a Donkey Kong Country Returns style roll, and that's going to be the speedrunner's way of choice with Mario Odyssey. When you're running around, you can start rolling and then just keep shaking the Switch controllers. We only got to play with the separated Joy-Cons, by the way. And they were unclear if every motion control move would be mapped to
They
the
said
Pro controller.
When Reeves and I played it in a different session with different representatives, and they said that like you can play with the Pro controller and those like alternate ways. Like for example, if you do like an up and down motion, he throws the hat sideways as an attack as opposed to like
Yeah.
horizontally. And they said like that would be mapped to like you press 2 buttons as opposed to one. So as far as I understand, there is nothing exclusive to motion controls.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Something also crazy they showed off in the trailer and we got to experience then is basically you can do like Link does in A Link Between Worlds where you can go 2D onto buildings
Yes.
and play 8-bit Mario.
That was a huge surprise. I love that. Like,
Yeah.
and so you also buy new costumes too,
Yeah.
and so your costumes translate when you go into the 2D spot. So, like, if you're wearing a Zoot suit or something, it's a 2D Mario wearing a suit.
Yeah.
So there are 2 costumes available. Like each world has its own currency and you can buy new costumes, but I went into the Odyssey, which is the name of the hat ship, and I put on like a safari outfit. But then also in New Donk City, one of the costumes you can wear, which is cool, is the Mario Maker box art, like the construction Mario.
Oh,
so you can
that's
dress
cool.
up as Mario Maker.
You know what
Mario.
that Reeves? You know what that safari outfit probably is the Mario Picross outfit.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I think they're all they seem
Oh,
the ones
they're
that
all
they
like tied to
I think
previous
so
games.
because they had the striped one that you can use in Smash Brothers. I think was in Mario Golf. So I don't think they're
Right,
all
the
just,
USA one.
I think there's a lot that are like callbacks to old.
Why
Mario
is he wearing a
outfits and stuff.
safari outfit with Picross? Wouldn't he?
We were talking about this the other day, and
the
our
artist outfit or something.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. You
Okay.
don't go on a safari when you play Picross. I don't know.
Weird. Real quick, other things that stood out. You can become a Moai, which is like an Easter Island-looking head in the Mexico world, the Day of the Dead, and he has X-ray sunglasses where you can see like secret platforms and stuff when
Oh,
they're
that's
down, but
cool.
you can lift them and then you don't see them anymore.
Oh wow.
I saw Lakitu frozen in ice in the Mexico place.
Okay.
Oh nice.
But I wasn't able to get him. And then also the name of the lion that you can ride around is called a Jaxie. And I
Yeah.
went and rode it and found a secret ice cave that felt like one of those platforming challenges from Sunshine. You know, like those little remote things.
Yeah.
With the acapella Mario music. and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's
It
cool.
brought me to like one of those type of like different worlds just for that little challenge.
Those worlds are so like dense with like stuff. They keep using the term sandbox, and we kind of like found out there's a Japanese word that kind of like
Duck
translates to sandbox literally, but it kind of refers to Japanese miniature gardening.
Okay.
So they're kind of like going for that, like miniature gardening is all about like creating environments in miniature, the super
Yeah.
dense environments in miniature, and so that's what they're trying to do with these Mario levels is create like super miniature environments full of like lots of different things.
Dense is a key word. I don't know if it really fully felt like Mario 64 based on what I played today. Did you guys have a different impression? Because they're beating that drum so hard. I don't
think
know if it's-
structurally, I think that's kind of like the fact that you kind of are in a world and there's a bunch of moons, not stars, but moons now.
Yeah.
You don't get kicked out of the level when you get a moon like you did in Mario 64.
Right.
But
Right.
at that base sort of structure of like go into this world, get a bunch of things, and that's what you want to collect. Like that's what I feel like how Mario 64 is structured.
Well, Mario 64 it was like what 5 or 6 stars per level.
6, and then if you got 100 coins, it was a 7th, I believe.
And then, but in this, I mean, they didn't give us an exact number, but it could be like upwards 50 plus moons,
Yeah.
and like they're all over the place. Like and I like that actually because it's super rewarding. You'll do like a small little platforming challenge, and they'll give you a moon, and then you do something like you go discover a thing, and they'll give you a moon.
And
So
then
it's
also
like-
every moon you get, it shows the date of when you got it.
That's
But the
weird.
date, it said 12/13/2017 for every moon we got. So maybe just the Switch's clock was off.
Yeah, I'm sure
Oh,
that's,
that's
probably
Yeah, but it's a weird little detail. So maybe there's like an archive somewhere where you can see every date you got a
Kind of
moon.
neat though.
if you
yeah.
pull down Kyle's
I
pants,
mean,
I bet we'd get a moon.
Yeah,
weird
that's
kind
really
of
good stuff.
tracking thing of your
That's
progress.
good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only concern I really have about this game at this point is sometimes it felt like the camera was tilted too low, like especially in the Mexico level, and there's no option that I could find at least for like a first person kind of like look around just to get your bearings. And so you're running across the desert, and it's like I want to see over there, and you can like realign the camera to center, but it doesn't give you a good way to kind of look around the environment. They have like basically what they have in 3D Land. Do you remember those little like telescope things
Yeah.
where you can kind
Yeah.
of look around? They have those throughout the level. But that's the only thing that I felt somewhat limited by so far.
Yeah.
Any other hot takes from playing Odyssey?
we found Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
he's
Oh, that's
in
awesome.
New Donk City. Although Kozumi said that he could show up in other levels as well.
He's a wildcat.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was anything like I asked about the Easter Island head statues and the lion, if that was like a callback to like Super Mario Land.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just kind of like, well, I mean, not necessarily. It was a weird answer. Like they didn't want to commit to it. That's just how Nintendo interviews tend to go.
Also, on the weird front, in the shop, you can buy like stickers to put on the Odyssey ship.
Okay.
But then there's also just like weird statues and stuff where it's unclear if that's for inside the ship or if you can like redecorate the levels in some way. A lot of things still up in the air even after half an hour of playing that game.
I like this game a lot, and it could be my game of the show. Like it's definitely
It
up
might
there.
be up there, yeah, for
it's
sure.
way up there for sure. And
Unless something Elise saw at Ubisoft can top
What?
it.
You mean Far Cry 5?
Oh, was that your highlight?
I don't know. I did like Far Cry 5 quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I played about half an hour or so of it. It was a pretty chunky demo. They just kind of put you right into Montana, and it's I think so. What's interesting is you start off the demo by choosing like a gun for hire. Which is like this recruitment system where you basically have a companion come with you, and they kind of they can either take down enemies for you or target them and stuff. So one of them was a dog.
Yeah, Boomer, right?
Boomer.
Really
yeah. So that's the one I chose. You can also have a sniper named Grace, I think, and then there's Nick who controls a plane.
Can you explain how that works with co-op? Because the entire game's co-op as well, right?
You can play the entire thing through co-op with friends. Yeah.
And so
Just
can you
2
still
people?
have those guns for hire then?
I don't know that. I'm not sure on.
Okay.
Is it just 2-person co-op?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but
But I do know that there's co-op. You can play the whole game with a friend.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's exciting.
So does it? It's overly simplistic. I think the setting's really novel, but does it feel like, oh, this is a Far Cry game, except we're running around churches and big sky
it definitely
country?
feels like Far Cry for
Yeah.
sure. There's still going to be that crafting aspect and hunting aspect. Weirdly, one thing that I that I got to do was fishing, and it was kind of a fun little break from just liberating areas and stuff.
How would you compare it to Final Fantasy 15's VR fishing experience, which they showed off?
I like Final Fantasy 15's.
Okay, hey, look, no, it's fine. That's
Did
fine.
you really?
Each their own.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my!
Do you
Reeves,
want
relax,
enough
relax.
to
Am
play
I
it in
crazy
virtual
for,
reality?
no way. I don't know. This one was fine. It was
Yeah.
it was quite easy to use and get the hang of. And from what I understand, the fish carcasses you can use for making stuff, and
Make
Like
bacon.
babies?
I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna make with fish, but it's some sort of crafting
Why do you just
component.
jump to babies?
I don't know where babies came from.
Elise, what was the most
explain
it.
surprising?
But anyway,
what was the most surprising thing from your time with Far Cry 5? Was there something where like, oh, I didn't see this coming for Montana Far Cry?
It does seem like, I don't know if this is surprising, but it does seem like they're going all out with the whole religious cult thing.
There's a lot of that.
There is a lot of that, yeah. Like you'll see like Sinner kind of like painted in black on like walls and stuff, and
I'm used to that.
there is it does feel like a kind of cynical look at small town America, maybe.
Oh, really?
That was my take.
And you're Canadian, for Christ's sake.
It's interesting and it's refreshing, I guess, and I enjoyed it. And it does seem like, so yeah, basically there's this extremist cult going around and taking over these different areas of the region, which is Hope County, which is a fictional place in Montana.
Do you think they had to
kinda
do the
confusing.
Google search to make sure that there's no like
Oh, I hope not.
But yeah, like, you know how in past Far Cry's you'd often be liberating outposts. This time
Yeah.
you're kind of like liberating towns. But
Oh,
it's,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the same structure though. Like you could sabotage alarms and stuff like that. This time around, I just had to like kill the guy that would ring the alarm like before he would do that. And
Sure.
otherwise, like reinforcements would come.
Right
So
on.
it sounds very Far Cry.
It is very, very Far Cry. Oh, one thing that was kind of awesome was the first time. This is the first time you can do this in a Far Cry game. Is like piloting a plane.
Yeah, there's like dogfights and stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay.
So for that, I was basically like blowing up silos from like up high, and then I had to go one-on-one with another plane and kill him before he killed me.
Did that feel
and I
alright?
had like machine guns to work with and rockets, and I could like drop bombs. So
You know, crop
yeah,
dusters.
You know,
You know how it goes over there in Montana.
so that was fun.
Bert seemed a little mixed on
the
flying controls. Yeah.
were kind of wonky a little bit. I had issues with the camera, especially because when I was trying to take out the other plane, I had to kind of face him directly to do that, to shoot him, and so he'd turn a lot, so I would have to awkwardly turn my plane. But whenever I did that, like the camera would kind of shift too much, like I don't know. So that was kind of
another
annoying.
Also, because we were debating how much they're going to show so much yesterday on the podcast, Beyond Good and Evil 2. What did they reveal about it? What are they saying?
So, this is a prequel. This is before Jade is born, who is the protagonist of the first game. This is what they say. It is. They weren't very specific in terms of how much beforehand it is, but they said across generations before her.
Okay.
So, like, it might be like her grandma in the game or something like that.
Yeah, they're
Wait.
basically like ancestors.
Wait, did you get to see it? Like, did you even
So
play it?
what they showed us was a tech demo.
Okay.
Oh,
But you got to see more than was at the press conference.
Yes, they
Oh,
showed
cool.
us a spaceship, and basically in Beyond Good and Evil 2, you can create your own character. So this time
Oh,
they
that's
had
gonna get wacky
a
with all the
monkey.
animals.
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. So they showed us this spaceship, and it was kind of interesting because they had this kind of No Man's Sky thing going on where
Yeah.
you could kind of simultaneously, very easily, just kind of go from planet to planet just
Sure.
by like, driving your spaceship out into the horizon.
So seeing what you
Um,
saw behind closed doors, did it give you more hope this game's closer than we think?
No,
Oh, boy.
I don't think it's anytime soon.
Yeah.
They told me that this technology they've been working on, they started 3 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, a
Alright.
sequel for Beyond Good and Evil 2 was first announced in 2008. Apparently, that was a separate thing.
Well, they showed
and
Paige in
now-
that,
Yeah,
so
the pig-
And now this
yeah.
is completely different because it's
Right.
a
What a
prequel.
weird thing.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still excited about it, but I think we're still very early on.
yeah, for
and
sure.
They have this thing called like the Space Monkey program, which is like an
Of
open
course.
development thing where they can ask fans for feedback.
It's just
and
like
what they
alpha
want.
testers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. With a very good name.
Space
Outside of
Monkey,
that.
Space
Yeah,
Monkey
really good
program. They also had brought up this thing how there's going to be online co-op, and it's hard to explain, but it's like, sorry, give me a minute.
We compared it to Destiny yesterday. Is that completely way off base? They're not going for like long-term MMO experience here, right?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think
It's just like shared world type stuff?
it's supposed to be a kind of shared world kind of thing. I don't know. It was,
I'm
it
sure
was
they're still
confusing.
pretty vague.
They were
about what
they
the
were
hell this
very
thing
vague.
is.
I mean, it was difficult to know even like what the main story is really going to be.
Yeah.
They brought up like intergalactical trade and stuff, and how
That's my
going against
favorite.
big corporations was going to be a thing, and they want to show basically how we get to where the first Beyond Good and Evil is, like
Okay.
how that world
Alright.
came to be in
Yeah.
System 4 and the DOMs and that was basically the evil aliens and stuff in that world.
Did they sort of comment on the new mature take on it or mature tone?
They said they wanted to do a more mature tone, but that also there would be several like whimsical characters and similar characters to the first
The
game,
cartoon
so.
characters, but in a very mature
But yeah, it
kind
is
of way.
much more mature.
Yeah, it's a weird
definitely.
one.
Yeah.
Hey, Elise, God bless you. Thank
Yeah.
you for being on the podcast. Do
All
you want to
right.
do a hot swap? No clapping involved with the great Matthew Kato here.
Yeah, you got it.
Viewers of the podcast got
Kato's
a hot
here?
tease
God, I was there.
of Kato's beloved back of his head.
When did you get here, man?
Yeah, this is what the
you've
front's
been waiting
looking
for
like.
it. Ooh.
Thanks, Elise. You're the best.
Full
Oh, and
frontal.
special
Elise.
guest on the wings as well. Make yourself at home, sir. You'll be on soon.
That's another tease.
Hey, Kato,
Yes, sir.
you've seen a lot of cool stuff. What's the coolest thing you've seen so far?
The coolest thing. Well, one of the things that really sticks out is A Way Out, which is that co-op, game that they had at the EA press conference.
Yeah.
By Hazelight. That's a Swedish studio, and obviously saw the developer up on there. Josef Fares, I believe his name is. And he was obviously very passionate. And so I had a meeting for that game, and they talk a lot about gameplay variety. That was one of his big things. But to the extent that they're going to go, which it sounds like they're going to go, sounds like they want to go, to the extent that they're going to go to make that variety happen, is surprising me already. For instance, he showed me this awesome, basically not really a one take, but it was like in this hospital, and it was switching all these cameras, and the cameras moving as both co-op people are doing different things. So sometimes one guy's running to a hallway while another guy's doing something totally different, and then it went into like a side-scrolling scene with one of the guys, and it was he was gonna go fight somebody, and the guy Josef was just like, "Yep, that's only in there once." So we have a whole
cool.
thing just to do side scrolling. I mean,
Yeah.
we know a little bit about development, but those things are not easy just to say, oh, we're just going to have this or we're just going to have that.
It's like making multiple games. Is like
Yeah.
right? Like what it multiple.
And he was talking about filming all this, mocap and whatever, and he's like, we did all the, the stunt or whatever, blah, blah, but you're going to see that animation once.
See, with that
kind of thing.
I love that kind of variety. I love the novel approach here. I worry about the fidelity at this point because there seems like they're going. It has kind of like a cartoonish look, but it still seems like it's going for overall, not quite Naughty Dog levels, but it's going up there. But it's like I'd be fine if this was just like a weird polygonal experience. I mean, and it more for just the co-op experience than for some really impactful moments visually.
I don't think it's really cartoony. I've seen some cutscenes, where between two of the characters, and it wasn't a super heavy moment, but you could tell there was something there, and it got conveyed. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
I don't think the art's the biggest problem with that. Like if you're doing like multiple types of gameplay, the problem is like making sure that each moment is like polished and feels good. Because usually when you do that, and like there's like 17 different like types of games that you're going to experience throughout this, like usually there's several duds throughout it because the team doesn't know how to like have the time to like polish up this type of gameplay and then this type of gameplay.
But if it's that quickly, just moving on, does it really matter? If it's just a WarioWare style rhythm to this overall
I don't know.
Well, I asked him one thing, which was about expectation. We're playing, we're gamers who played a lot of games, and when you put somebody in a world, even if they haven't played a lot of games, and this is just a total one-off example, but let's say there's a mini game involving breaking a window, and entering into the front door or something like that. If you have one type of gameplay to do that, if there was something similar to that, naturally a player would expect to use the same mechanic.
Right.
And I'm not saying everything is one-off, but they clearly want to throw a lot at you. I wonder if there are going to be situations where a player might expect a certain kind of gameplay, and then maybe it switches, and so how does that, as a player, how does that feel? And this is just a guess on my part, but I have a feeling it's not like we're going to see like, super complex gameplay mechanics. Let's say you're swinging a baseball bat. I don't think there's going to be some totally weird esoteric, you know what I mean? Like gameplay mechanic just around swinging that bat. So I think there'll be a variety, and I think, they're definitely going to try to nail the story, nail the characters, and, certainly with the co-op thing, put you in different mindsets. Because I was playing the game, and if I'm on one side of the screen, I'm obviously trying to pay attention to what I'm doing, but I'm also watching what's going on the other side of the screen, because that's a different camera. That's a different part of. We were in a convenience store. That's a different part of the convenience store. I'm kind of getting story and getting things from that, but I'm also trying to I need to pay attention what I have to do.
So you're getting a storyline fulfilled from screen cheating. It's the experience we've always wanted.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. So that begs the question for me is what if both people are talking to people at the same time? Are you getting two sets of dialogue just thrown at you?
I didn't have that situation. I mean, I could have in that situation. I think even I did. I walked over, he was talking to the clerk or I was talking to the clerk, and then the other character walked over, and they were in the scene. And I'm almost positive it went to one. Went to one shot.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think there was in that particular instance an opportunity to talk to the clerk at the same time, or I don't think there was an opportunity for me to interact, while he was interacting, kind of thing. But I think it is very much playing with that shared versus split, worlds, so to speak.
What about you saw Battlefront 2 single player, which I really wish they would have shown off during EA's thing instead of just what felt like a 40-minute multiplayer match, which looked nice, but it wasn't too dynamic there. But single player, how's that looking?
It's looking better than I thought it might. I got to be honest. I was a little I don't know how much I want to explore, kind of a non-movie, single player sort of thing. But one thing that really helps it is the look of the characters. The voice actors are done really well in the parts that I saw.
Sure.
And, the Frostbite engine, just the way it captured some of their faces, you thought, okay, I could, storyline, we'll have to see how that plays out as the story goes. But as characters and people that you're going to pay attention to, maybe even care about, things like that, the facial expressions and whatnot, I think really help that, because, we are dealing with an Imperial officer. There's some of those hurdles to go. And like I said, I don't know if they want to try to make her sympathetic, so to speak, but there's got to be some of that in there. And I think, the graphics will help.
How does it help convey the weird holographic emperor? Does it really feel like you
Yeah.
understand the core of Palpatine's struggle, even if he's on an iPad floating around?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is visually represented fine, like it's just the way the hologram kind of comes up. Okay, it looks fine. I mean, the premise of it, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. But you know what I mean? If we're playing her and we're playing through certain situations which are cool, like for instance, I got to shoot down a couple blockade runners, boarded a rebel ship, was shooting those dudes in the hallway like, we've seen in the movies and stuff. Some of that action, and there's also, you get to play other characters as well. I think I'm almost positive on both sides. I mean, yes, you do on both sides. So there will be those things to mix up the storyline, but, I think it could work.
Hey, I'll let Kyle and Ben choose here. Would you rather learn about FIFA on Switch, Forza 7 versus GT Sport, or Ubisoft's Skull and Bones?
I'm gonna go with Skull and Bones, honestly.
That works for me.
Ubisoft's Skull and Bones it is, Kato.
Believe it or not,
Dish
we
it
don't
out.
have to know their swap. I can actually address a question. I don't know if you guys knew that, if you had an inside bet about whether I could actually address that or not, but I can. So
Please.
You
somebody
seem like a
lost.
pirate expert.
Skull and Bones, dude. Fill us in.
So it's the Ubisoft enabled venture bit, and I played like an online portion of it, with some teams.
Sure.
I honestly don't know what the other structure for it is, but this is what they were showing off, and so we were 5 galleons or ships. There's 3 classes. One's obviously a heavier, one's long range, one's medium, and there was sort of a first sequence where we picked up a bunch of loot and sort of destroyed some AI ships. I think they're like merchant ships, which was pretty cool. You just go on, you can board them. And then it went to kind of more of a versus phase. So then the other team of 5 came in, and now it was just, high seas tactics. It was some pretty, it's pretty high seas adventure, actually. It was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't fare super well, but I mean, the cool thing about that game is, we're sort of used to Twitch combat. We're used to quick decisions. We're used to all these sort of things. And it takes tactics, but it slows it down because you're talking about ships, which, there's wind currents you've got to deal with. You're maybe jiggering with the sails to get more speed and stuff like that. And so it's no less tactical. It just plays out differently. So in my case, I could see the disaster coming a little farther off, and I'm like, okay, I am in a really bad spot. And so then you can be like, how am I going to get my ship around so my, starboard side just doesn't get totally blown to pieces. So it's kind of like, you can see the disaster coming, but which is some of the thrill, I think. But that just sort of heightens how you have to tactically maneuver, to make sure that you don't get yourself in those really bad spots. So also, when you're playing the PvP part, the other team boards, which then they take a whole bunch of your loot, a lot of the loot, because you can respawn, but if you get boarded, then that's it for your ship. And then it goes from there to, I think they're called Pirate Hunters, which I think are AI sort of ships which come on. So now it's kind of like 3 sides are going at it. You're just trying to get your head around that. And then it's also like an escape phase, which is basically like, I think as the round's getting over, it's like, okay, who can beat it out of here with the loot? So you're kind of, you're mashing your sails, you're trying to, get going and stuff. And it's basically just like, reach this part of the sea or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, I don't know, if that was a very specific mode or, if, being Ubisoft, I'm sure that's just one part of the whole thing, but
that's what
it was
I'm really
pretty absorbing.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. Like, it seems like the Black Flag fans, the Assassin's Creed fans, are like, holy crap, a new Pirates experience is everything I ever wanted. Strip all that Assassin's Creed nonsense out of here. Just Pirates. I'm trying to figure out if it's that full, like, adventure experience, or if this is just, like, another For Honor, where they're just focusing on multiplayer. Just want that cool, weird combat experience.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't know. They didn't talk much about the larger thing. It was kind of like, okay, sit down, and you're gonna have this particular experience. So, unfortunately, I just can't say.
That's what I want. Like, I want a fun story experience. I don't want more For Honor. I don't want just multiplayer gameplay.
And you're never, to be clear, you're never like controlling a character from third person or something like that, right? Like,
No,
you're just like controlling the ship.
You are the
right?
ship.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Mario
when you do the
threw his
boarding,
hat at
it's like a one button thing. So you
Was
get
it?
close enough. I think you hold it down. The old circle fills, and
Okay, the old
know.
circle. Yeah, because everyone was like, kind of like, oh man, Sea of Thieves is probably shaking in their boots, you know. But they seem pretty different actually, other than the pirate aspect of it, because you're in Sea of Thieves, you're like a first-person pirate running around a ship, where here you're controlling a full ship, you know.
Right.
But I'm curious to see like when those games come out, if they will continue to be compared.
They're both 2018 games. It's
Yeah.
gonna be that weird pirate competition.
Yeah,
You're the pirate.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves.
Hey,
Just
I don't
with,
need to be here.
You know, your friends and stuff. I think that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably
That'll be
just a little
different
bit
enough.
different experience. Yeah.
I mean, they said they've rebuilt it, like because they kind of took the Black Flag thing, but then they said they rebuilt it, but it looks like it plays exactly like Black Flag.
Which I don't mind. Like, I love the idea of Ubisoft remixing some of their content. Where it's like, oh, this is a great experience. We can use it for something else. And it's weird how it harkens back to a survey they sent out. Remember, like a survey right before I think even Black Flag, was announced or released. Of like, hey, would you ever want a standalone Pirates experience? And apparently enough people said yes. We're like, all right, Singapore, get on it, man. Let's go. Come on, guys over there. FIFA on Switch, different game.
Yeah, it has some shared things, like for instance, some of the new career stuff we'll go over. The gameplay, I think, has some of the new gameplay that you'll experience in the other versions. It just feels nice. I mean, it feels nice from a physical standpoint to hold that thing in and play it. I didn't play it on Pro Controller, but I imagine that's I'm expecting that to be fine. But if you were to play it as a remote experience, it feels fine. It's kind of like your brain thinks one thing and you just do it. I play it like I normally would play it. And then, like a lot of the things like the feel of the dribbling and the shots and stuff like that and the passing, that all feels like I would, expect it to. So the big thing is it has Ultimate Team. So, I mean, basically you're talking about, not just from a business money standpoint, but you're talking about Nintendo getting on board with an insanely popular format that, sports games use, non-EA sports games use, non-sport, you know what I mean? Like, it's just this huge thing, and to get in and give users a taste of that, and all the promotions, all that stuff they said is going to happen at the same time. There's things like called teams of the week and all that kind of stuff. Basically, just a lot of different ways to throw a lot of different versions of cards at people and have them excited to buy them, and challenges and stuff. All those will happen at the same time, they said. So it's just, again, it's letting Nintendo fans in on this, very popular mode that everybody else has been enjoying for so long.
Hopefully won't feel too bastardized.
I don't think it will. I mean,
nice.
I had, I played 2-3 games. You're sitting there playing for half an hour. I mean, there's obviously lots for me to pour through.
Yeah.
But I mean, it passes the eye test in that sense.
Nice.
This is pretty good. I see it being a totally viable way to play that game.
You played it on the Switch screen or on the TV?
On the screen. I actually didn't even play it on the TV.
Oh, okay.
Because I was just like, let's do this. I could probably figure out how it looks on the TV. But
real quick, in 2 words, you need to choose a definitive winner between GT Sport and Forza 7.
2 words. I'm choosing my words.
I recommend they be
Careful.
the name of the game.
You used them.
Yeah.
Down to this.
I think maybe Kyle could maybe answer this question better than I could.
Can I?
Really?
I guess
I'm
no.
thinking.
Oh, you want me to say things while you're thinking? Forza had that cool
go
contraption
with
that you
Forza.
could sit in,
Forza.
and that you could pretend you were riding in a real car, and it looked like a
Okay,
lot of fun.
I can't do it. I honestly can't do it only
Oh,
because.
no.
So here's the deal, though. I think the career, going through the career mode and stuff in Forza, I think is going to be, more interesting. They've got a great reward system. They have a new one where the more cars you collect, the better
This is
rewards
Forza,
you get.
right?
This is Forza.
Okay.
Yeah, Forza 7. And they've always been good about rewarding cars and rewarding little things for you. I think that's been one of their very good strong points.
Can you explain in 2 words the difference between Forza Horizon and Forza? Because I just started playing Forza Horizon.
Sure.
Can you explain
I
in
like
one
it.
word why that guy was so excited about that car on the stage? He just wanted to make love to it.
Delusion.
Ah,
Oh,
Porsche,
that's a good one,
got
too.
it.
Porsche.
Ooh, it's a good
No, I would
saying.
think Horizon. So that's kind of like they trade years. So
One's
this is
open
the-
world and one's more serious.
Yeah, and that
And
one's
then-
the physics are, I think they're similar, but they tune them just a little different, a little more
Okay.
forgiving, things like that.
So Forza 7, those looking good.
Yeah, it's looking good. I think if I'm excited about the career mode for Forza, I think for GT, it's just I don't know how to define it necessarily. I mean, Forza
A little
7,
sportier.
which I saw on just GT, of course, which I saw on Xbox One X, and it looked great.
Yeah.
I just love the look of GT, of the Gran Turismo franchise of sport. I love the handling of the cars. Again, that's not to say that Forza doesn't have that, because I like that too. But I think if I'm talking about a moment-to-moment play experience, I think I'd probably will lean GT Sport.
All right, here's the real
All
question.
That's a
Right.
cop out. That's it.
No,
No,
that's
you picked
totally
a game.
fair. Here's a question I've been meaning to ask you for a while now. Whatever happened to that Gran Turismo movie they announced 3 years ago? Did that
announced
ever
a
come out?
It's in the pits.
Hey, Kato, sorry for making you talk
Well
for 40
done,
minutes,
dude.
but thanks for being on, man.
Well, thank you,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
unloading your E3 mind. We have some special guests waiting in the wings, so if you're watching the video version of this, that's going to be a part 2, which you can check out for sure. And the audio listeners, stay tuned. Coming up next. Good dank.
Sorry about that.